He hane washte. Good morning, Dellmarie.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for listening, whoever's here. I've got some good experience that I had last 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of what I encountered. But first of all, let's go ahead and say a prayer. I'm going to say a prayer, and then we will get started. Today's topic is going to be about the sacred arrows of the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribe, and the Heoka, the kettle dance. It was amazing to experience that the last 2 weeks that I was up in South Dakota. One of the days I went up to Greengrass. So that is my topic for today. Adewa kantanka tunkashila ampetule uyakuble opila tanka akion kikta naha daku uyakibazo naha daku echunkte hinanye hini nitha tunkashila ochekie makasi domania yawa. For all those who are sick, for all those who may have depression, for all the deaths, the illnesses out there, Tunkashla, I put them all in your hands, that you know what you can do with all that we ask for and pray for. Now, Betule Tunkashla, Daku Waglaking to live, this sunny Chanupa Naha sacred arrows hina etchuftika hina unkablazak de Tunkashla, that we may learn something, and to know that there is always a reason why we experience a lot of these things. Oh, hechetu tunkashila, ampetu washte, unhokte. Good morning, everyone. Boy, I tell you, I didn't really realize I was going to be up in South Dakota for 2.5 weeks, but there's always a reason why things happen the way they do. I went up there May 25th to attend a memorial dinner for my aunt. Little did I know that I was going to partake in the cleansing and the prayer day of Aptesawi Chanupa, which is our sacred bundle of the sacred pipe, I should say, at Greengrass. Well, lo and behold, Barbara and I went up there, and it was amazing to know that the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribe were up there, and I guess what they're striving to do is to get a unity of tribes to bring their sacred objects together to have a prayer day, world peace prayer day. So we went up there, and first time I was ever able to go ahead and experience having the bundle taken out of its home, and where all the people gathered to pray. And I guess for some of you that do not know or have not heard our story of the Sawi Chanupa, it was brought to us. It's our creation story. The Chanupa was brought to us, and I would probably say time unknown when it was brought. But here's the correlation, I guess, that I just found out too, is a sacred bundle was brought to the Cheyenne people near the Bear Butte, and that's where our story, creation story, also started. They say near a cave near Bear Butte was where the sacred arrows were brought to the Cheyenne people. Well, for us, we believe that the Chanupa was brought to us out of somewhere, a Wind Cave, which is in the Black Hills. So anyway, the day was a whole prayer day with the Chanupa being brought out, and there were so many people there. There probably could have been more people there, but they changed the date as Orville and Ivan were up at Bear Butte planting 3,000 trees around Bear Butte. So they were a day late, and so not very many people showed up, but yet there was a lot of people. And so the prayer was done, and it was just nice to feel the presence. I don't know, it was a rare feeling for me to know that this was my first time actually ever seeing the bundle taken out of the little log house where it's kept. And for all the people to pray, and I can actually attest to the fact that it was hard for Barbara to walk, but she even walked up the little steep hill up there.
Aww.
And that was very nice, just to see her walk up there. But everybody said their prayers. We all said our prayers, and I said prayers for all the Michigan Angels, all the people that needed prayers, that I thought of. I prayed, we all prayed. And then we came back down, and as usual, just basically for the people that were there, it was almost like the fish and bread concept when Jesus brought people together. There was not very much food, that people brought, but yet it fed everybody. I mean, there was some fried bread and watermelon stuff that we had, but it fed everybody that was there.
Wow.
So anyway, I can probably say what I learned from my experience there was, I will talk about that later, but we went down and we went to another place, and they didn't bring out the sacred arrows because apparently in order to do that, to take it away from the reservation or the tribal area, the Cheyenne, they had to get permission. Well, they didn't bring the sacred arrows, but they gave a guy permission to go ahead and come and do some healing prayers with us. So we ended up going down to this other part of the land, and we all sat in a circle, and they kind of explained to us their story, their creation story, and that's where I thought, oh my goodness, this is the first time I ever heard where their sacred arrows came from. And he explained that, he said, this was basically, he said, the sacred bundle of arrows was brought to us near a cave of Bear Butte. That's all we know, he said, and apparently it symbolizes male power. So women are not to look at it, and that is one of the reasons why they couldn't bring the sacred arrows. So we ended up getting into a circle, and the guy was able to come and bring some little pods, and he explained, that Sweet Medicine, who brought the bundle to them, brought wisdom and is keeping the unity of the people together, but also showed the people the plants that they use for medicinal purposes. So little pods, little plants that he passed around, they prayed, they smudged us, and they gave us these little things. But I'm not really going to elaborate on the sacred arrows because that's not mine to speak about. So that happened, and the amazing thing of this whole thing was to see the kettle dance. And the kettle dance, they call it Chech-Ohomini, which is a sacred ceremony of a dog, a puppy that's cooked, that's supposed to give healing to the sick people. And this was done by Heoka. There was 3 Heokas, and they all wore their different clothing that apparently they had a dream about, but each one of them symbolized what their dreams were. And one of the guys was dressed like a homeless guy with a blanket over him. One of the Heokas, and his dream was, after we found out, I even kind of spoke about, what their dreams were about, but he said, this one with a raggedy blanket over him has dreamt, and we are going to have a lot of homeless people. We're going to have a lot of people losing their homes. And so he said that's what his dream was about, and he had to dress this way. Mm-hmm. Well, as I thought about it, and the significance of that for me was looking at the children that are being removed from their homes or from their parents, the ones supposedly the illegal immigrants, losing their homes, the children losing their homes.
Right.
And the whole part of the economy here in Denver area, I can probably say, because of the rising costs, we are having a lot of families being homeless. So that symbolized me. I got that, with a guy with a ragged old haircut with a ragged old blanket over him. Mm-hmm. And then there was one that was dressed in black and white, and another one dressed in black and red. And the one that symbolized black and yellow, supposedly his dream was the division of people. Mm. And it just doesn't make sense at the time, but as you think about, what you heard and what you see is basically the racism that's really happening today. That's a division of people. Uh-huh. And that was kind of like, a breathtaking thing for me to, it just kind of like hit me, just really realize, oh my goodness, this is what's happening. The one with the red and the black symbolized bloodshed and the darkness that's over us. Wow. And those are scary, those are scary things to really think about, when they're dreams, these Helkas, because mm-hmm. the Helkas kind of come from the Wakian people, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they danced out there. They did the kettle dance, and I remember seeing the kettle dance way when I was young, and I really didn't understand. But I think at one time I told a story about why the dog was man's best friend, because he stood up for the two-legged mm-hmm. to take care of the animals.
Yep.
So that is the reason why they use a puppy, because the dog sacrificed himself for the betterment of the man. And so they use a puppy in the kettle, but it's also supposed to be healing. So mm-hmm. one of the Helkas, as hot as that boiling pot is, they reach in there. One of them reaches in there and grabs the head out of the pot. Uh-huh. And then they dance with it, and apparently they throw it out there in a crowd, to where it's supposed to go, because that person may need a lot of healing. Mm-hmm. So that was done. And then Orville come around, and he passed little pieces of the puppy meat to everybody. Mm-hmm. Well, the meat itself pretty much, supposedly we believe that it has healing powers, for us to have that piece of meat, because the dog sacrifices himself for us. Mm-hmm. So that was amazing, but I was kind of happy because one of the Helkas come over to Barbara and gave her some little things, and I don't know what he said. We couldn't hear what he said, but he stood in front of her for a while. And I hope she got blessings, I hope she got healing,
Me too.
So that was an event, a whole day event of prayers. Everybody prayed, and Ivan really did a good job of talking about our creation story and all the belief system. But one of the things he talked about was, all all the beliefs that we have about the giants, or the Wiwila Wichasha, or Bigfoot and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, these are some of the stories that we have been told about as we were growing up. But he said, the findings are, he said, it's evident that these giants lived among us, because somewhere they were excavating or they were doing the pipeline, and they found a huge giant peace pipe, a chanupa.
Wow.
And I forget, and he was supposed to come to Barbara's this past weekend, so I wanted to ask some more questions. But out by Allensdale, that's a place that I didn't hear about, but we looked it up on MapQuest, and there's a little place called Allensdale, which is east of Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they also found some discs, and that's all he explained, was some discs with some petroglyphs.
Oh.
Excuse me. So he told the stories of some of these discs that supposedly, when they find some of those items, that things are going to be changing in this world, mm-hmm. or with our society. So that was kind of interesting, and I think when you spend some time with him, Denise, you may ask him about that. He may tell you a little bit more.
I was just thinking about that. I'm happy that he'll be putting me up on the hill in about 3 weeks, Ivan.
Yes.
And I would like to ask him about that while we're, getting ready for the ceremony, to put me up there and all. That's really interesting. And it's amazing what is coming out of Grandmother Earth right now, isn't it, with regard to the old wisdom resurfacing at this time?
Exactly. But the day of prayer for me, I think, like I was saying, thoughts come to you, I guess, like I had said, you never think about those, but it's almost like the ancestors are talking through you and
mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I got out of it, like I had said, and I wrote a little bit on Facebook there, it was like I heard a voice, or in my mind, says, there will never be peace.
Wow.
And I really thought about that. And as I look around, even through prayers, because we were able to go ahead and go into Inipis while we were there too. And the more I thought about it, and the more I prayed about stuff, I really realized, if you can think about it, we can probably get maybe a few hours of peace in our mind. For those of us that really have compassion for life, for everything, we will never have peace, especially women. And one of the things that came to me is because as life givers, as women, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about this when we do have that empowerment weekend about women, the womanhood ceremony. But what came to my mind was that as women, we were chosen by the Creator to give life. But with that comes pain. And not only physical pain when we give life, but we will always shed tears. This is what I'm getting in my mind, as I'm out there thinking. We will always shed tears because we care so much. We are the life givers, so we think about Winchimaka. We think about the animals, the abuse that's happening, even for our own children. And boy, was I tested good, over the past week or so, with my own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really realized that there will never be peace. I strive for peace, but we're not going to get it as long as we're mothers, we're grandmothers, we love.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I realized. I will not get physical peace. I will not get emotional peace. I will not get mental peace. Just the spur of the moment, maybe it might be 10 minutes of peace that I get.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a message that I had gotten when we prayed for peace so much all that whole day. You know, is it's come to light that throughout history we never did have peace. We've always been, I think humanity has always been at war. Somebody's always trying to trample each other.
Right. Right. Well, you know, Chue, one of the things I've noticed because of this show that you do every month is that there are a lot of people who really listen closely to what it is that you share about your own experiences. And one of the things that I hear over and again is the expression that you use that you can't give from an empty basket. That you have to keep your basket full. And so you're talking about peace and the prayer for Peace Day. In those moments where we can find peace, what do you do for yourself, and what do you say for other people about ways for them to find peace during this time when they can't be with Te Sawi Chanupa?
Well, two things that keep me sane. I guess probably. I can attest to the fact that prayers is what keeps me grounded, as well as keeping my sanity. And this came about 40 years ago when I was healed, you know, with my terminal illness, or supposedly I could have been dead now, you know, with the kidney ailment that I have.
Right.
And that's been 40 years ago, and I've been praying ever since then. And prayers is something that gives us hope. And we have to look around us and to see the miracles that the Creator has provided for us. We forget that. We see the beauty. When we're depressed, when we're sad, we only can see the gloom and doom. But through prayers and looking around, looking at the miracles, of the beauty, the goodness of creation, you know, when you really take the time to look and how would you say, probably focus deeply into the beauty, then that is pretty much of a relief, and you get a little piece of relief as well as pain. You know, relief from pain because you're focusing on the good. So my whole thing is for people to suggest to you, focus on the positivity of life. Focus on the beauty of life. The other thing that keeps me going is a word that we use, and my mom always said this, and every time I get into a situation where I'm not, I guess I'd probably say in my weak moments, I remember my mom saying, Itushika. That word is my strength. It means no matter what, you're going to overcome this. And it means so much. Itushika, it's fortitude, perseverance. So that word I keep in my mind, and I hear my mom's voice saying it. So those are the two things that I can probably say, you know, is just basically whatever word that can keep you afloat, your prayers can keep you afloat. Those are probably the two things that I can suggest to people to say, hang on to those.
Another thing that you often talk about when you're talking about finding peace or finding a way of balance is by helping others or reaching out or volunteering, taking yourself outside of yourself sometimes.
Oh, yes, exactly. Exactly. I think one of the things is sometimes I think we don't know subconsciously when we get into the part of feeling low and down and weak and everything else, you know. We have to go ahead and be out there for other people because it gives you a feeling of self-worth. We don't really know, but I think, you know, with the gloom and doom of this, you know, it's energy draining.
Yeah,
it really
is.
is energy draining.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're out there, it's almost like your self-worth, your self-gratitude, when you're doing good for others.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps you grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the other part of it is always look at the balance of that chungaleshka. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, or what are you neglecting
Mm-hmm.
of those four components of that chungaleshka? Your mental,
Mm-hmm.
physical, emotional, the spiritual part of it,
Mm-hmm.
I know I hang on to my spirituality, and I think that pretty much keeps me afloat.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sometimes we have to be afloat and we have to be in balance while others around us are going through, situations in their lives, maybe a trauma or something that is bringing them to a crossroads. Sometimes we can't walk a path for somebody, so the best that we can do is to remain balanced ourselves.
I think one of the things that people forget is because we show people how strong we can be by continuing, everyday life, the stresses. I think sometimes people forget that we're humans too.
Absolutely.
And we're not all strong, sometimes we have our weak moments,
Mm-hmm.
And I also find out, for light workers out there, the empaths, they're neglected as well, and we have to do self-care.
Mm-hmm. Very important.
So I know for myself, I see quite often, I don't get that relief, for some nurturing, but I kind of focus on my little tacorzas. Oh, man, and then my kitty cat too. I come home and did I have kids running to me? Oh, Grandma, I missed you.
Aww.
The hug. I love you. I missed you.
Well, that's the best.
Even my kitty cat was just following me all over, and it's like a sense of knowing that you're needed. Boy, you got to be strong.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You got to stay strong.
That's right. We all need you. That's for sure.
But anyway, I think our time is coming up. I just wanted to go ahead and say to everybody, thank you for listening. I appreciate you all, and for some of the things I talk about, sometimes we have to process. But prayers, stay in prayer. I know there's a lot of sicknesses, a lot of deaths, and again, when you're surrounded by all that, it takes from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to replenish that. Keep your baskets full. And sometimes it has to be emptied, and you'll know yourself when it's empty,
Mm-hmm.
So remember Itushika and prayers.
I love that. Wopila.
Yeah. Well, with that, I guess our time is up, huh?
It is, and I will be seeing you in about 3 weeks.
And I'm going to try and get myself up there by the 11th. We still got to do some shopping, huh?
Yep, you and I will be shopping away.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get her done,
have
though.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day, Chue.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.